All right. So I'm eager to hear what you guys have been up to this week, what you've noticed.
We talked a bit about melting snow and running water. Pretty elemental. Two of us had been out walking and heard familiar brooks babbling again that we haven't
Hmm.
heard in a while. They've been under ice and snow, and with the melt and the rain, they're running stronger. Um, and just the snow receding. And oh wow, there's the plants in the ground again. Haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
It's too that the way the with the warmth of the last couple days, I guess before the rain, watching fog rise off of the snow and being pushed in the wind. I mean, I know when the snow melts, water goes into the ground, but some of it goes up into the air too, and we've been
Absolutely.
able to
Yeah.
see it lately. Um, so that's been early early spring.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was just kind of being grumpy about it today. I have to say, it was cold and windy. And so I really appreciate when you go out in March and you actually notice what's there and see the things that are popping up. Beautiful. Thank you. What else?
So last week we went down to the bulb show,
Hmm.
and that was, I mean, I think for some reason, we didn't get to the bulb show last year, but we've gone pretty much every year at Smith. They've gone to Mount Holyoke various years, um, and we go for the bulbs, and just because there's so many people there, and you move so slowly, you wind up spending a long time just looking at um, the intricacies of each plant, and they're just so incredible. The more you look at them, the more there is to see, and
Yes.
which is sort of what you were saying about wonder in general. And then, other years we've also gone into the other rooms, and I think we were both blown away this year for some reason by um, the room with all the succulents and the cacti. Um, just the just the diversity of what's there um, was, just staggering. And you go and look at these plants that I hardly think of as plants because they're so bizarre looking, um, especially compared to these beautifully ornate flowers, the blossoms that are coming along. And there's this one one of them um, was this strange succulent from Namibia in South Africa, where it actually said that in its entire lifetime, it tends to only generate two leaves, and then says that they tend to live over 1,000 years, which means in 1,000 years they only produce two leaves. It's just like beyond comprehension. Um, and I've just spent the last a lot of occasions this past week just thinking about animal life too, because I just started reading this book called it's called Beyond Words: What Animals Think and Feel, and it's this fascinating book that goes into um, the similarities and all throughout all of life, animal life certainly, but about in terms of animals feeling and thinking earthworms and jellyfish and going into great detail about
Even
how
bacteria.
our neurons are all related and the same and the structures. And it's
Mm.
just really it's all staggering. So taking that combined with the fauna in this um, greenhouse would just beyond belief. I'm just trying to make sense of it. It's just wondrous, wondrous.
Thank you. You took us all on a tour without any pictures at all, just
Yeah,
pictures in our mind.
yeah,
Yes.
it's great stuff.
It's astonishing that, each plant is a universe in itself when you really start to look at it and the shape and the form and how it works. And then you go to the next plant, and it looks so different, can be so differently shaped, and so forth and so on. When you really look, is just amazing.
And when it
Don't
brought
look
back
like
to
we even
brought
belong on this planet,
yeah, it brought back to mind when you were talking last week about just how miraculous life is and how a baby is born. And the thought that came to me was this 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 baby grows up and somehow we look like our great grandfather or great grandmother on going back generations, and oh, this person resembles somebody in the family. It's just astonishing.
Mhm.
So
Yes. All right. Thank you, Richie.
thanks.
Well, I also have really been enjoying noticing spring, and I was in the woods today and just noticing how much snow has left so fast. Because I
Mm.
expect when I get into the deeper woods that I'm going to be walking in a fair amount of snow, even when there's not snow, outside of the woods. And so I walked up on the trails by the Hadley Reservoir, and when I got way up high, all of a sudden, when it was in the shadow of Bear Mountain, the whole trail was like sheet ice. So just kind of, you're in the woods, you're looking down at the trail and everything, but it's so defined by these other elements of what's around us. And there's this hard packed ice that's going to be there for a while just because that area is shaded from the sun. And that's a wondrous thing. The streams are just like singing and like talking to everyone. And um, I've been enjoying sometimes meditating now in the morning, standing up. And I know you teach that at the retreat sometimes, and having like a soft gaze instead of a closed eye gaze. And it's just very different, and it's not sitting down, which is one of the things I like about it. Um, but then when I come out of it, it's just like undoing that soft gaze into focus. And that particular morning, there was just a light dusting of snow over the grass. And as I came into the awareness, I felt like I was looking at like mountain landscape, like actually looking at large landscape, just the differential of the snow over folded grass. It felt like it was giving me a whole terrain, and I thought that was wondrous.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah. We have this pile off our deck where we shovel off onto, and it was like 5 feet high. And I thought it would be there much longer. I looked at it today, it's like a foot high. It's just this little tiny thing. It's about gone. So yeah, the warm rain took it fast. And there's so much out there. Thank you.
I think I've been finding some wonder and taking some refuge in the arts. Like I've just been reading wonderful books, and last night watched a very understated, I think, lovely little film. Thinking about your discussion last week about the course of life, it was called Train Dreams. I don't know if anyone has seen it, but um, it brought that to mind, and your discussion about um, the course of our life. And then, on a very morbid note, you were talking about the nature of time, and I was reading this nonfiction book, and it's something I've heard countless times, but it's the first time I really took it in, which is it's talking about 5 billion years. The sun will, I guess, become a dwarf or something, but it's going to expand and we're going to vaporize. And I was thinking about impermanence and just all of the things that I worry about. And just to think, my gosh, in 5 billion years, which of course is longer than the planet's been here, it's all gone, which is very morbid. But just as I was reading and consuming this week, those comments that you made last week about the nature of time and the course of life came to mind.
Yeah.
Not on a happy spring note, but
Well, I'm not sure I would call it morbid, but maybe I have a different feel for impermanence. But it's like we have this sort of assumption that what's happening to us right now is so important. But in the scale of time and in the vastness of what has happened to bring us to where we are and what's going to happen, it's kind of like, wow, we can't even grasp it. It's so big. Yeah. And that, you know, all of this may be gone. Obviously not necessarily in our lifetime, but it's truly astonishing, I think. It's truly jaw-dropping. And so, it's often, I think, like contemplating impermanence is it's a powerful tool for stripping away assumptions and familiarity of things. The things we think will always be here won't. It's just a simple fact. And yet our minds create familiarity and create this sense of, well, it's always going to be this way, or it always has been this way. I sometimes try to just imagine the ice age and that the very ground that I'm living on was maybe a mile under ice. I, it truly boggles my mind. So without the planet even completely being vaporized, there's just these huge changes that have happened, and it's hard. It's hard for a human being to grasp because we create this familiarity around everything, and are a little bit afraid of change, a little shy about it. So thank you for bringing us the end of the world to contemplate tonight. It's a good thought. All right. Who next?
I didn't think of the wonder part of something this week until uh, you sent us to our rooms and and I I was hit this past a little before the past week with a sudden disease that is treatable. And anyway, but I've never had anything like this. I'm a very basically healthy person. I've never had a systemic disease. I've had knee replacement, that kind of thing, broken ankle, but not systemic. And I'm, uh, uh, not a young person. And so I'm very fortunate. And I was hit with this just suddenly. I hadn't been feeling well and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't go to the doctor. Was in the middle of stuff. And that's a lesson for people. It's a lesson for me is when you start, but I was in the middle of a bunch of stuff and I just didn't go to the doctor. And so I think it's gone on a long time, but it felt like it was out of the blue. The major symptom, which is weakening muscles and you can't move your arms and legs. So there was quite an adjustment.
That could be disconcerting.
It
Yeah.
was a little disconcerting. Shoulders were getting sorer and sorer and sorer. But Anyway, I'm the so it was really hard at the beginning, and I had to have my husband all morning. It was lots of things to work out. Couldn't get out of bed because I couldn't put any weight on my shoulders, and I'm not strong enough to. Fortunately, I have a pretty fit husband, but it was impossible. So we went one day and bought a recliner, and so I couldn't put any weight on my upper body. So there was just, there were things like that to work out, the pills, the new med that was very strong, that kind of stuff. But, and then as in a lot of illnesses, you get it figured out. You get a plan. You get out of the chaos. And I kept thinking, well, it's okay for me to be in chaos for a while, but this sure hurts. I don't want to do this anymore. So what I'm trying to get to is that once it eased a little, it's not over. And the but it's better is anyway, is I started to, because I would gradually get better during the day, even from the early, very painful days. Not so I could raise my arms, but I could do a little more and felt better. And so I started, I was freed enough to start thinking about the disease. And first of all, just wonder that I'd never experienced anything like that. It was like a new experience.
Yeah, that
I
amazing
could
itself.
I could get enough distance to do that. And that felt really good because it gave some space in there. You know, and it wasn't like, oh, well, I'll get through this because I have good health. It was like I saw it. And and then of course I also saw, because I'm a person in basically good health, the immediacy of uh that I'm at 81 and I just turned 81, that you're really seeing the next few years. And but it that certainly grounded in a not horrible way, but it made it there. And there are a lot of things I need to deal with being this age now that I want to deal with. So anyway, it was what you normally wouldn't call wonder, I guess. But I am really pleased I had that little bit of that. I'm just at the beginning, but So
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you have something that's treatable.
Mm.
Well, I want to say that. And I'm also grateful that you can put this lens on it, you know, this is like something to wonder about, both your health and this particular thing that came along. And I often think about this, and not in a morbid way, but in just a reflective way, that I don't know what's going to take me down. Someday something will, you know,
Mhm.
and I don't know when. I have this idea that I'm going to live to a ripe old age, but who knows? And I've had friends who have already died, who, in their 60s. Actually, I had a friend who died at 32 of cancer. And so it's I'm not sure if wonder is quite the right word for that, but it does strip away the illusion
Uh-huh.
of I know what's coming.
Yeah.
The illusion of it's going to stay the way it's been,
Mm-hmm.
and the illusion of of control to a certain degree. I mean, obviously, we can keep ourselves healthy in various ways, and by all means do so. But things are not always in our control. And then, as you also pointed out, they kind of slip under the radar. You don't necessarily see them or take them seriously or go to the doctor right away. There's certain kind of like denial in the mind that this isn't really happening. And so that's also something to notice.
Mm.
Anyway, we're hitting kind of the sickness and old age and death theme, and wonder is not inappropriate. It's not an inappropriate approach to this. Though it's kind of a sober wonder, if there's such a thing. It's a kind of a sober astonishment of this condition that we're in, the fragility, the vulnerability of the condition we're in. So
Mhm.
thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Tim.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to lower your hand and mute you. There. All right. Who else? Who else has something not so cheery? you know. I don't think that we should just waste wonder on just the good things, the things we want, the things that are beautiful. I found compost kind of wondrous. You pour all these things into the compost pile, and you do have to have a little skill to mix the greens and the browns right, and then it turns out just like soil. It just turns into this beautiful stuff. How does that happen? Little microbes. It's truly astonishing. So that's maybe not as beautiful, but it also is amazing. Then again, did you mean?
It's very quick.
Okay.
Our son was called us from Mexico where he was bicycling in the Yucatan, and this wondrous fact that apparently the meteorite that killed all the dinosaurs and brought on the Ice Age was 6 to 9 miles across its circumference.
That's a big rock.
We were just all on the phone together going, wow.
Yeah.
All
right.
That's
Thanks. Yeah. May it not happen again soon.